Let's stay in the association, Mr. Kelvin Washington.
Yes, sir.
And let's talk about what's happened to the Phoenix Suns. Rob G, what are the latest numbers? They've lost what of what? What's their where are they now?
Well, after that blowout home loss to the Minnesota Timberwolves that helped Ant-Man earn our Express Pros Player of the Week.
Yes.
Kevin Durant said that they embarrassed themselves, embarrassed the fans the way they played. It was their 11th loss in 14 games. They're now 28-33 on the season. 4 games back of Dallas for the final spot in the Western Conference play-in tournament. They're going to need a minor miracle just to make the play-in tournament at this point.
Amazing. Kelvin, let me say a couple things here about the Phoenix Suns.
Okay.
First, I'm happy that they're in the toilet. I'm happy of where they are. And I'm going to say this. Because officially the Big Three is dead, a thing of the past, right? The Big Three. Hey, when they got Durant from the Nets, oh, my God, right? They got Devin Booker, a young guy. They went and got Bradley Beal. Hey, take him out of that bad Washington spot. You know what I mean? You got 3 unbelievable scorers. They'll be fine. They got a chance to make it to the finals and all that. Remember all that talk. And now here they are, 11 out of 14, and mostly healthy, right? They're healthy. There's no issue here.
Yeah.
And I'm saying here that we got to stop with the Big Three. You don't need 3. You need 2 really good players. You see it in Boston. That can get it done, right? With nice complementary players around it. So I think that whole Big Three era should be put to rest and to bed finally. And this is probably the last one. Because there was so much talk about the Phoenix Suns when that trade was made. And you know, the thoughts are that they had a shot at winning a title and all that other stuff. But it didn't work out. But here's the other part I'll add to that. This one, to me, is more disappointing and a bigger debacle than what happened in Brooklyn. And I'm going to tell you why. In Brooklyn, it was about injuries. Those guys, when they played together, Kelvin, you remember this, they were great. They didn't play that many games together, all 3 of them, but they were great. What sunk the Brooklyn Nets is that Kyrie got hurt in the postseason. Harden kept getting hurt. Kevin Durant wore a size 16 instead of a 14.
Right.
Like they were at a shot. To this day, I believe they would have won a championship had they been healthy and Durant didn't step on the line on that game-winning 3 in Game 7. I believe that. But in this case, and Durant was hurt a little bit. I remember he got hurt, a non-contact injury, remember on the layup line or whatever he was doing around the basket. But their players are healthy. They got a young Devin Booker. Bradley Beal's not old. Like, they have a good mix of guys. They shouldn't be this bad. 11 out of 14? And not even close. This team is putrid. It stinks.
Well, you know what? So this is not awkward, but a different way of explaining it for me. I think the Nets version was more disappointing, but it wasn't their fault. And mostly, I mean, obviously, it was a crazy world we're in. You had COVID, so you had Kyrie and his stance, and specifically in the state of New York, where, you know, they had especially, you know, they were really tight on it in the beginning. You got to get vaccinated. You got to get this. Kyrie didn't want to get vaccinated. So that was a whole thing in and of itself. I mean, there's probably a documentary coming from that if there's not already. So you have that. You have injuries. And so they only ended up playing, believe it or not, 16 games together, which is crazy.
And they were like 14-3 or
yeah,
am I right? Like it was something like that.
It was, and you thought, oh, we're getting ready to see, and they were still, you know, still the prime of Harden, still the prime of KD. So you thought, and obviously the prime of Kyrie. So you thought, oh man, this is about to be crazy. And you could argue this might have been the most talented Big Three ever, just pure talent. We didn't know the results. We didn't know what was going to happen. We don't know about championships. But just if I said these guys in their primes, you could argue that was the most talented, one of the most talented Big Three. So that ended up, for me, being disappointing in that we never got to see it mature because of all the reasons, COVID, injury, suspensions, and all of that stuff. So that was more disappointing for me, using the term disappointing. But again, it wasn't their fault. And part of the reason why it's more disappointing because I didn't have the biggest expectations for the Suns. Not that I thought they would be this bad. They're putrid. They're horrible. They're embarrassing, as Kate even admitted. That was not – I didn't think they would be this bad. But I thought, and I've said this from day one, I looked at that team and said, well, who's passing the ball? Okay, I get it. Who's distributing? Who's locking down? Who can say tonight I'm going to go do another thing? And that's usually what you have to have when you have a big three, right? You have to have Chris Bosh, who can get you 25 to 30 any night, say, you know what? I'm going to get you 16, 18 tonight, but I'm cleaning up every rebound, right? I'm going to go get you 12, 10, 15 rebounds. I'm blocking shots. We didn't even know Chris Bosh was that good of a defender until he got to Miami because he realized that's going to have to be my role, right? You have nights where D-Wade says, I'm locking up on the wings, and I'm going to score on a fast break when I need to, whatever, but LeBron's going to run this thing. They didn't have that from the jump to me. I looked at them and said, they're all guys who need the ball to score and can't lock. It's not like they're going to do other things. They're not grabbing all the rebounds. They're not blocking shots. They're not lockdown defenders. They're capable defenders, but you get what I mean. And so to me, when you put it all together and what you had to give up to make it happen, I'm like, this roster is flawed. It's flawed. I don't like it. And so I guess for me, disappointment, not by their fault, was fourth the Nets for me because I wanted to see, whoa, this is a crazy three. What will this be like? And then the world shut down and chaos ensued. Phoenix, I never liked it from the jump, and I think it's just a bit larger reflection of what I thought would happen. I didn't think it would be this bad. But it is disappointing because you thought by now they could figure something out.
But 11 out of 14 loss, that's not even close. Forget about aspirations of winning anything. Like, there's no way with that talent, those three guys, that the NBA is filled with bad teams.
Yeah.
All over the place.
And you bet on them all the time.
Yes.
The Wizards, the old Pistons.
But there's a lot of bad teams. Kevin Durant's on a team that's lost 11 out of 14?
And I'm glad you said
know what
that.
I'm saying? Like, seriously, Devin Booker, who people were talking about when they went to the finals, Rob G, that he's the next Kobe? Am I right or wrong that people were saying that? He's the next Kobe. I remember it. They were up 2-0. They were already, who else? Chris, who am I? Chris Paul.
Oh, Chris Paul.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Chris Paul, give him his due. He's now one of the best point guards who ever played in the game. He's going to pass Isaiah. You remember all that?
I do.
They were up 2-0.
And they ain't been right since.
That's what I'm trying to say. Like, how do we go from Devin Booker's the next Kobe, and he gets Kevin Durant,
and now they're terrible, one of the worst teams in the entire league.
And they started the season, I believe, 8-1. Do you remember the start?
Yeah.
Oh, finally it's going to click. Finally they got all that. Everything's going right. We're going to see what happens. That's why I'm saying it's big. It's a bigger disappointment. We didn't get to see the Nets. Those guys didn't get to play, so you can't really be disappointing. I mean, I know what you mean that it never materialized, but it wasn't like they played and they were disappointing.
That's
These
why I
are
said,
guys who
it's
are
a different
playing.
disappointment for me. It was disappointment like, oh, man, I never got to see. It's like if you were excited about some big concert and it got rained out or shut out and you're like, man, I'm disappointed.
Or Aretha Franklin was sick and Peebo Bryson had to sing.
Yeah, buddy, I know you wanted your money back.
I wanted my...
Peebo, you nice and all, but you ain't the queen. You ain't Aretha.
The Riri. I walked out of the Radio City Music Hall, me and my buddy Ed, with our hands held high, like we got robbed.
Exactly. And that's, to me, how I felt again with the Nets. That's why I said it wasn't their fault. Injuries, COVID, suspensions. But I felt like that team, because you have James Harden, one of the best distributors of his era. He can go in pure passing mode, like he's been doing even with the Clippers this year. He can lead the league in assists. Kyrie can assist or score. KD at that point straight up score. Like, they had the makings to be like, oh, they can do different things. You had levels. Like, Kyrie doesn't like to necessarily, he shoots threes, but doesn't like to. He wants to get in the paint. He wants to get in the mid-range, right? So Harden, you can shoot the threes. KD can shoot. I mean, that team had me like, oh, shoot, this could be scary. So that's why I said it's disappointing. Not in the same underachieving of the Suns. That was what I never got to see happen. There was a super group that was supposed to happen, Rob, and Rob G as well, and Mary. Let me educate you. There was supposed to be a super rap group. Ja Rule, DMX, and Jay-Z in like 98, 99-ish. And they were going to be this super group, and because they had this couple of songs together, and Irv Gotti, rest in peace, who just passed recently, last couple of weeks, that was supposed to happen. And then they all obviously start blowing up, and it just they kept, we'll get back to it, and it never happened. That to me is how I felt. I was about to get a group with Ja Rule, DMX, and Jay-Z in their peak. That was about to be crazy. That was the Nets for me. So disappointing. The Suns is just utterly disgust because there's no way you should be this bad. Maybe you're not top 6 seed and you're still fighting for a play-in, and the West is very loaded. So I could say you're 1 or 2 games from jumping all the way up to the 4th or 5th because they're that crowded, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. This is just trash, man, how bad they're playing. And they tried to get rid of KD. Now he's back. It just makes it awkward. They got to blow this whole thing up. Dream. Rob and I were just talking about just putting a button on the Phoenix Suns, man, and just the big 3. By the way,
do you think it's dead? I think like the idea of doing it at one point, that's all everybody was trying to do was put together 3 players.
Yeah, if you look at the NBA, I think we've had 7 different NBA champions the last 7 years, and if you look at them, there were really no big 3s for the most part.
That's what I'm saying. That's why.
And also, by the way, Rob, let's slow this down a little bit. What is a big 3? Because I do think we kind of need to define that because 3 guys on your team who are good.
No, it's putting together 3 guys. I mean they got Durant and then they got Bradley Beal.
Right. No, what I mean, not just this team. I'm saying because we have other teams like the big 3. Like I think, for instance, like it was. Here we go. Was Draymond, Steph Curry, and Klay Thompson not KD? No. Was that a big 3?
No.
Okay, just want to make sure because I think sometimes we get a little. To me, I'm like some of these 3s and these big 3, we giving them a little too much love with the 3 part, like the big part of it. Like that was a 3, but it wasn't a big 3. But I think we have proven if you have a star in his prime, a la Jokic, right, where he's just unbelievable, MVP. God knows how many he might win at the end of his career, 4, 5, 6, who knows? And you have a Jamal Murray who, comes alive in the postseason, kind of sleep, not good, but not great during the regular season, not even an all-star, but comes alive, especially when he sees purple and gold Laker jersey in front of him. And then you have a well-crafted team around those 2 guys.
That's the way I look at it. I was like, just bringing people together.
Oh, no. I'm agreeing with you. Now I'm moving on. I'm saying going back to that you don't need a big 3 anymore.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the Nuggets, when you look at, the Celtics really are a big 2 and then a bunch of good
Jamal Murray's not even an all-star. You know what I mean?
Crazy.
And they won
he
a
might
championship.
retire never being an all-star.
And he's good, and especially
really
the playoffs, he's been tremendous. But just think about that.
He's the new Mike Conley, where like we all went, duh, you're one of the best point guards in the league. In his case, kind of a shooting guard, combo guard. But you're like, man, he may never make it in the West. Maybe he'll sneak out one like Mike Conley finally got, like year 12 or 13. But you look at, I think having a really, really, really good 2, a la LeBron and AD, a la Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, and then you can build around that. To me, it's all about a well-crafted team, a team that has guys who know their role. You're a defender. That's all you do. You're 3-and-D, or you're just nothing but a rim protector. You hit big 3s. That's and guys who know their role, they play their parts. KCP, Bruce Brown for the when he was with the Nuggets. I look at guys like if you take a Drew Holiday with the Celtics for another team, he's probably the main focal point, an all-star like caliber. But what they needed him was control the tempo, play good D. That's what the Celtics need. Hit a big shot here or there. And Derek White, play your role. Big shots, lockdown defender, steady with the ball. You just need guys who know their role. And I think that's what the Suns underestimate. They just thought, we got Beal, that's 25 points. We got KD, that's 25 to 30. And then Derek Booker's 25 to 30s, and we should win. Like, well, who's playing D? Who's locking up? Who's getting rebounds? Who's setting the tempo? Who's controlling the tempo? Are we going to slow it down? We're going to speed it up. And they got rid of anybody who could have been a contributor in the other side of the ball. And it's like, good luck with some of these well-crafted and well-run teams.